I'd like you to imagine your dream life. See the version of you who has what you want to have, feels how you want to feel, and is who you want to be. I'm Brittany Hoops, your hypnotherapist and manifestation coach, and this is the show where I'll teach you to master the full power of your mind, to guide you on your journey towards destination manifestation.
Take a step back for the ones who can't do that. Hope I separate from my past. Hope I don't just stop and crash.
Welcome back, travelers. So I am so glad that you have decided to join me here today for another episode of Destination Manifestation. So today I want to share with you this kind of like really nifty little manifestation exercise that I've been really quite enjoying lately. And I'll tell you, I wanted to record this here and now because I don't think it's a coincidence, some of the big manifestations that I've been having lately after implementing this exercise. I started this exercise a few weeks ago, and there has been some major movement on at least this one big manifestation of mine in the past few weeks than I've experienced even like over the past couple years. Okay? Like a big shift. It's absolutely insane. I will just share more about it later, but that's just simply why I had to record this podcast episode for you guys, because don't sleep on this technique. It really is some powerful stuff, and I'm going to lead you every step of the way. Okay. I've been doing this technique every morning, and I would say the best way I can describe it, I was trying to think about how I can describe this, right? It's kind of like it's microwaving your conscious mind a bit. And I know that might sound like disturbing, and I don't mean it to be. I mean it in a very good way. It's a very good thing, okay? But it's like, I think of it as microwaving because it's softening it. It's like softening the resistance. It's softening the disbelief that the conscious mind has had to some big manifestations, and it's softening it in a really tangible way. That's what this is designed to do. So, y'all know that I am a subconscious reprogramming girly, hence why I'm a professional manifestation hypnotherapist, right? But this exercise, I think, is really designed to be great for those moments where your conscious mind is active, online, alert, and it feels like it's like battling you. Like there's the you that wants to manifest this thing, and then there's your conscious mind that's like, you can't do it, and it's trying to convince you why you can't turn this idea into a reality, why it's impossible for you. And you just are like so sick of it, you just want to shut it right up. I know we've all had moments like that. I know I've certainly had my fair share of them. And so when you want to shut the conscious mind up, you kind of have multiple options, right? You can do some hypnosis, which is a great tool, or you can flood it with reasons that what it's saying is simply untrue. It's like saying to your conscious mind, okay, I hear you. Two can play this game, dude. My conscious mind is a man, I guess. I can outwit you, conscious mind. I can outsmart you. And guess what, conscious mind? I can out-evidence you. And that is the exercise we're going to talk about today. It's creating an evidence list. An evidence list is essentially a list that provides you proof that your dreams are, in fact, possible for you. And guess what? You don't need to have manifested the thing yet to find evidence why it's possible for you. We're not going to wait until it's manifested. That's too late. We need to do this before so that it can manifest. We got to put it in the right order. So we want to find that evidence first so that you can believe it's possible for you. Because when you do that, when you believe it's possible for you, that's when you end up manifesting it. It's a chicken before the egg scenario, right? So here's what mine looks like. And of course, I'm going to share this with you, but you can do it any kind of way. Hopefully this inspires you. I like to keep a note on my phone. So I take my phone, I have the Notes app. I know I've shared with you all a couple episodes ago a bit about my daily morning gratitude practice. I store this list right along with my gratitude list in my phone. They're just in the same note, actually. It's just like my morning note. Okay. Here's how you can create one too. Okay. The first step to creating this list is to write out your manifestations. So I would choose your number one top manifestation. You might even do your top 2 or your top 3. I would limit it to at least 3. We don't want to go like crazy right now. We want to stay focused. I want you to focus on those top desires that you're most focused on manifesting right now. Once you've written those down, then I want you to do the real work of this, which is to start jotting down any and all reasons why your manifestation, this manifestation on your list, could very well be possible for you. Okay? This is the gathering up of evidence process. Now, these reasons can take any form, okay? And I'm going to give you lots of ideas here. That's what the episode is. It's just flooding you with ideas here. So let's get started, okay? For your evidence list, it could be signs from the universe that you've received that's been related to your manifestation. Or as I like to call them, God winks, right? They're the synchronicities. They're those things that tell you, yep, the universe is listening. It's affirming my desire. It's those things that make you smile, that you know I'm on the right path. It could be a physical sign that you saw that means something to you in your manifestation. Like I'll tell you one really fun one I received recently. It was the morning of this like huge major milestone in one of my manifestations. And I was in the bathroom getting ready for the day. And I look out this sort of smaller window in my bathroom, and there were 2 birds playing and hovering and playing together right in the little square that was that window in my bathroom. And they just stayed like that for like minutes. And I was like, oh my gosh, like birds don't do this. Birds fly away. Birds do other things. But no, these birds were just hovering right there in the window. And I was like, all right, that's a sign. Like birds don't ever play and hover right by this window. And yet on the morning of this major event with my manifestation, I received this sign. So I just kind of want to take a moment to clear up something when it comes to signs, because a lot of people kind of ask me this in my sessions. They say, Brittany, how do you know if it's a real sign or not? Like, what if I'm just making this up and it's not actually a sign and I'm just like being delusional? Okay. Now, my answer to this question is, if a sign makes you think it's a sign, it's a sign. It's that simple. How many times can you say sign, right? Because think of it this way. Do you know how many times you go throughout your day not noticing signs? You probably don't realize how much of the time it is that you're not noticing signs because you're not noticing them, right? It's not in your conscious awareness. Like it is 99.999999999 infinity% of your day that you are not noticing signs. And I know I've thrown around the stat multiple times on the show, but I love it because it explains so much. Your brain receives 11 million bits of information per second. Okay? But your conscious mind only perceives 40 to 50 bits. And I don't mean 40 to 50 million bits. I don't mean 40 to 50,000 bits. Just plain 40 to 50 bits out of 11 million. And that's each and every second. So of those 40 to 50 bits each second, maybe just 1 bit from just 1 second of just one random day, which how many seconds are there in a day? Many. Okay. That's how little, that's how much that you might spend time noticing signs. Okay. Like most of your day, most of your life is simply not filled with noticing signs. So no, you're not making it up. If your brain allowed you to take in that bit and notice it and think it was important and not filter it out and notice it as a sign, it's a sign. Okay. Let's just put that debate to rest. Okay. Stop doubting yourself. Stop doubting the universe. It is a sign. Enjoy it. See it as the God wink that it is. Now, let's get back to this evidence list, right? For your evidence list, you might want to add scientific evidence, especially if your manifestation has to do with the body or with your health. Maybe there are test results or scientific studies that support that healing is possible for you, or whatever your goal is possible for you. The evidence might be something that you saw, and this is unrelated, or I mean, I guess it could be related to scientific evidence, but another thing that you could add to your evidence list is something you saw on social media. We ingest a lot of information, social media. It could be stories, it could be articles, it could be anything, right? Anything you saw on social media could go to your list. Another evidence example could be stories of other people you know. It might even be stories of celebrities. It could even be stories of historical figures. It could be stories for influencers you follow online. It doesn't matter whose story it is, but finding other people who have received your manifestation or even just something like it, their story, their lived experience can be on your evidence list. Let other people serve as evidence that this is possible for you too. Now, I personally love Reddit for this, okay? Like you can find nearly anyone who has accomplished what you want to accomplish on Reddit. Even if it beats all odds, you can find someone who has this lived experience and they're sharing their story with you and they can prove that your thing is possible too. Here's another idea. Maybe your evidence is communication that you received from your higher self or even a loved one who has passed away. You might have received this communication. It could be through various ways. It could be through a hypnotherapy sessions you had. It could be a psychic or medium reading that you had, something like that. Oh, wow. I mean, one of my favorite ways to receive signs is through hypnotherapy sessions. I mean, hypnotherapy sessions are just filled with signs. Think of it this way. Think of all those signs that your conscious mind filtered out and didn't allow you to see. They're stored somewhere. They're in your subconscious mind. So when you access your subconscious mind through hypnotherapy, you have this plethora, like my vocab word, plethora of signs from the universe at your disposal there, right? I get my strongest signs from hypnotherapy sessions. It's kind of crazy. I'll tell you a quick story here. I had never had a psychic medium reading before, but this summer I decided to do one just for fun. And when I got this one, it was just, it floored me because it confirmed, and I didn't expect this, but it confirmed all these signs that I'd been receiving in my own personal hypnotherapy sessions for like months. I'd been receiving all these signs, and then, I hadn't talked about them on the show. I hadn't talked about them on social media. Like they were just my little quirky signs that I would receive. Maybe I told my husband, but that was it. And this psychic medium confirmed, I'm not just saying one or two, it was 5 or 6. It was crazy. It was so spot on. And so everything the psychic medium said, I was like, yep, I already knew that. I already experienced that in my deep meditations and my deep hypnosis sessions. They were signs that I received in hypnotherapy. So it's just so interesting. And I'll be the first to admit, when I don't know something, I will share it with you. I know there's a link there. I don't know enough about psychics. I don't know enough about how mediums work, although I am very intrigued to learn about that because I know that there has to be some sort of connection there. I know it's there. There's something that when you go deep into hypnosis, you can access a place that must be what the energy signatures that psychics and mediums are accessing to, because there's a connection. I know it's there. I also can't tell you how often I'll have one-on-one clients come to me for manifestation hypnotherapy, and they'll experience something that seems kind of random to them at the time during that hypnotherapy session. I'll give you an example. I had a client who she had a beautiful first session, and the sign that kept on coming up in her session, she didn't realize it was a sign at the time, but what kept on coming up in her hypnotherapy session was Care Bears. Do you guys remember Care Bears? It was kind of before my time. I think it was in the 80s. They were popular. I think it was a cartoon, and then they had stuffed animals of Care Bears and stuff. It was a thing. Care Bears. And she had Care Bears come up in her session. And I can't really remember the details around her session or anything, but her subconscious mind saw the representation of a Care Bear in her session. And so at the end of the session, she was just kind of what's that about? And I kind of explained how things can come up in the subconscious mind and how the subconscious mind speaks to us in images and symbols and things like that. We kind of giggled about it and we sort of let it go, right? But then she emailed me a couple days later, and she told me the very next day after her hypnotherapy session, she was out shopping. She went into this department store And there it was. There was a huge Care Bear display in 2024 at the front of the store, okay? It's not the 1980s anymore. It was 2024, and there was this huge Care Bear display at the front of the store. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't see Care Bears every day, and neither does she. So she was just kind of floored, and she took a picture of it. She sent it to me, and she was like, "It's a sign." And I was like, yep, well, that cleared that message up. Like, it absolutely was. It's the universe telling you, yes, trust me. You made contact. We're in conversation here. You're on the right path. And so that's why I kind of love about hypnotherapy. It's one of the many things I love. It affirms all of that. It lets us commune with the universe, with our higher self. It lets us connect and receive intuitive guidance in a way that our conscious minds just simply can't process. The conscious mind is dealing with 40 to 50 bits, okay? It can't do more than that. The conscious mind isn't designed to process these things, but the subconscious mind is. So the subconscious mind serves as this gateway. It's a portal to this realm. And I just feel like it's so freaking magical, but it's also very scientific too, which that's the best combination, right? And if you doubt the science behind it, please, I urge you to go back a few episodes. I want you to listen to all 4 of our neuroscientific manifestation series episodes. We did a whole series on how the brain and the science behind manifestation in the brain. You will be stunned to learn the role our brain plays in all of this. It's really fascinating. So, yes, you can certainly find signs through hypnotherapy, and those signs can confirm the reality of your manifestations, can let you know you're on the right path. Here's another example of some evidence to add to your list. It could be the positive actions and the changes that you've made. Actions that you now have taken that perhaps you hadn't taken in the past or you hadn't taken before. Therefore, a different result can be possible now than it ever was before. So I think a lot of times us as humans, we're tempted to look at the past for evidence on how the future will be, right? It's tempting for us to do this, but it's not always true. So if you look to your past and you assume that, oh, it happened this way before and that's just how things are going to play out in the future, then essentially what you're doing is you're regurgitating your past again, right? You're just copy and pasting. You're saying, oh, this past thing, we're going to copy and paste it on the future. And that's like the definition of feeling stuck. Whenever you feel stuck, that just means you've been copying and pasting the same experience again and again and again. And trust me, I know how that felt. Before I got into all this stuff, I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I copied and pasted for 8 years of starting businesses and failing and starting businesses and failing and starting businesses and failing until eventually I was like, oh my gosh, Brittany, stop copying and pasting this. We don't want this result. We got to do something different. So if you notice yourself falling into that trap, we got to reverse it. We got to do something different. I want you to notice all of the reasons why things could be different this time, which would suggest that the outcome would be different than it's been in the past. And therefore, if it's different than it's been in the past, then you can manifest your creation. You can have a different result. So that's one way to do it. You also could explore the opposite of this, right? We love duality. The opposite also is true. Let's say that you've manifested the thing that you want to manifest. Let's say that you have manifested it before, and now you either want to manifest it again, or you want to manifest a bigger version of it or something similar to it, right? In that case, we would say, hey, we want to do some copying and pasting from the past, right? You can then decide to use the past as your evidence for why you can do it. In that case, we would want to copy and paste the past again onto the future because we want more of it, right? You might decide to use your past accomplishments as evidence for why this manifestation could happen to you. So let's say, for example, that you want to manifest $500,000 a year. Okay. And let's say that you haven't done that yet, but you have manifested $200,000 a year before. So we could use the fact that you manifested that $200K. We could use that as evidence to show you, yes, it is possible for me to make multiple six figures a year. Like, that's doable for me. I know this. This would be an example of you using your past as evidence for your future because you want to create a version of that or an augmented version of that, right? But I would say only use your past as evidence for your future if you want to recreate elements from that past. Some of us don't want to recreate the past. Some of us want something completely different that we've never done before. That's okay. We're not going to use it as evidence then. It's only if you want to recreate it or bump it up in some sort of way, right? If you want a different outcome than you've experienced in your past, don't use it as evidence. Leave it behind. You see? Okay. Another example of evidence that you could use are feelings or sensations you might feel in your body. Even intuitive knowings. That's kind of a sensation, a felt sensation, a felt experience in the body. Maybe you just generally feel better. Maybe your body feels better. Maybe you have a gut feeling, intuitive knowing. Like, when you listen and are tuned into your body, it can tell you so much about your upcoming manifestations. Like, you have no idea. So you have to listen to it though, right? Maybe your evidence is just knowing that things can be different, right? Let's say you've been pursuing the realization of your manifestation for a while, okay? It's been like a couple of years and it hasn't happened for you yet. I want you to remind yourself about how it can be different. It might not feel like it, but I want you to find evidence for why it can be different. Find all the evidence for why that's possible. Why could it be different this time? Answer that question. Any answers to that question, smack dab it and put it on your evidence list, okay? Here's another thing you could use for your evidence list. I told you there were a lot. Use your general sense of alignment as evidence. So I know recently I added this to my list. My alignment has been like skyrocket high. It's been so good. I've been feeling so good. Okay. Like, it's been way stronger lately than it had even like in the past 2.5 years. Like, in a really long time, I'm like at the peak here. And so I know, my alignment is doing really great right now. Like, I know that that's a reason enough to know that I'm in a better manifestation mode. I'm a better manifester than I've ever been before. And especially than I have been in the most recent past. So I can add that as evidence to my list. Like, I'm really aligned right now. Like, I've just been feeling really aligned and feeling good. And that's enough evidence to know that this manifestation will come faster than it might have been when I wasn't as aligned. You can just kind of simply tell when your energy has shifted compared to other times in your life. Like, can you think back on like your happy chapters? Like, those are your aligned chapters. Like, I think about when I was most aligned in my life. I think, well, like right now, which I don't know what this chapter will be. One day I'll give it a title. One day I'll give it a name when I have perspective for it. But I think back, my next happiest aligned time was right before Big Brother, which boom, manifested Big Brother then. My next happiest aligned time after that was maybe when I moved to Los Angeles. I feel like that was really a really beautiful alignment time. Or actually maybe anytime I made a big move, like when I moved to Austin, Texas, that was a big alignment time. That's when I manifested building my home, my dream home. When I moved to LA before that was a good manifestation time. Of course, the big manifestation time when I was falling in love with my, would be my boyfriend and now my husband. That was a huge manifestation, good manifestation time. And what's so funny is like, I look back, oh, that's kind of crazy. I never really thought of it this way, but I look back at those most aligned times and they were always right before a huge, big, beautiful manifestation came in. Like, look at that. It was the moment before Big Brother. It was the moment before manifesting my dream home. It was the moment before meeting and dating my now husband. Like, it was the right before. It's not the experiencing of the thing, although that was very fun and really great, but it was the moment before, was the really happy times. And that just goes to show how important your alignment is. Your alignment is so important because the most aligned times, when you're feeling that you're like flying high, it's just how the universe works. The manifestation is right on the precipice. It's right along the way. It can't help but manifest because it has to match that energy. So, I'm really excited. This technique is going to help you get there if you're not already there. But if you are already there, put it on the list because that means your manifestation is like right around the corner. Okay? Here's another example. you might want to add your evidence list some statistics. But let me put a little asterisk caveat here, if you find them appropriate or helpful. So if there's low odds on your wish being fulfilled from like a statistical point of view, don't add them. Don't use them. Don't look at them. Okay. But if the odds are in your favor, that's some great evidence to add to your list. It's kind of like when we were talking about looking towards the past or not, that in some instances you might want to look towards the past, but in other instances you don't. Like, you have to be discerning whether you use statistics or not. Now, I imagine you're probably yelling at me through the screen. Why do I always think you guys are yelling at me through the screen or through the, your earbuds or whatever? I know you don't yell, but you're kindly questioning, I imagine, saying, Brittany, isn't this picking and choosing what reality you want to believe in if you only believe in the statistics when they serve you and you don't believe in them otherwise? Like, isn't that negating reality or being delusional? I understand. I understand that question, and my answer to that question is yes, it most definitely is. But when you ask me that question, you're wording it in a way that makes it sound like it's a bad thing. Okay? It's not a bad thing. Not for the sake of this exercise. And that is the key point to all this discernment here. Now, when you are living your day-to-day life, do as you wish. Feel free to confront and accept the situations that have already manifested around you, the facts already around you. I'm not asking you to be delusional or, are not in touch with reality. I'm not asking you to do that when you're just living your normal day-to-day life. If that doesn't feel good to you, maybe you don't want to focus on it as much, but you do you, right? But when you're here and you're listening to this Destination Manifestation podcast and you were doing deliberate manifestation work, we aren't in the business of looking at what has already been manifested. You wouldn't need, that would just be called the reality show, right? Destination reality. No, we're talking about destination manifestation. We're talking about what is being created. I don't care what is already manifested. I care about what you want to manifest, We don't care about what has already been manifested, which is what most of us has come to know as reality, right? And I put it in quotes because we all have different experiences of it, right? We are creating the next generation of manifestations, the next generation that will be reality in the future. We are shaping reality. So that requires you to have some discernment of your focus and your attention. If you just want to look at reality, there's plenty of reality for you to look at right now. If you want to create it, you got to hone in. So you aren't looking at the old crusty manifestation. So it's what I call our current reality, right? You aren't looking at that. No, you're creating your future. So yes, that's going to require you to pick and you to choose what you give your attention to. And that's different than how most of us live our lives. It just simply is. Because most of us are not in creationary mode. Most of us are reacting and responding to what has already been created. And that's the big shift I want you to make if you listen to the show, is that you need to go into creation mode. And that requires discernment. So it's kind of like if you were an artist or like a potter. Is that what they call people who make pottery? Potter, Harry Potter. I don't know. Let's call it a potter. I don't know if that's true or not, but let's just say it's kind of like if a potter only made pottery that was ever in the shape of a square chunk of clay because he felt that it would be negating the reality of that clay to dare make a round pot. The clay came in a square chunk, and therefore it must always stay that way because that's the reality of it. And what I would say to this potter is I would say, it's okay, potter. You're creating. That means you're going to keep some of the clay that's wanted and needed for your creation. And then it's okay to throw away anything that isn't part of your creation. It's okay to throw away the edges of that clay. That's the creation process. That's what it means to create. It's picking and choosing. So yes, when it comes to statistics or when it comes to elements of your past and it comes to your manifestation, if that statistic supports your belief, focus on it. Add it to your evidence list. Do it, right? But if it makes you feel disheartened about your manifestation, I want you to just throw it out. Like that scrap of clay, okay? Pay it no mind because it's just a probability. It isn't a life sentence or a death sentence. Okay. So many people each and every day defy statistics every single day. Isn't it crazy? Like, if you think about like, I don't know, it's hard to put statistics in perspective, because like even a statistic that's like 1 in every 1,000 people, there's still like 999 people that it doesn't happen. Like it's just, I don't know. It's crazy. Like statistics, they're intended for a wide level, but you aren't hundreds or thousands or millions of people. You are you, one person. And so at the singular personal level, you get to decide whether you want to focus on it every day. And there are people who defy them, So in that case, if the statistic is not helping you, what would better serve your evidence list is to look for stories and look for examples of people who have defied that statistic, right? That's the kind of thing that you want to add to your evidence list instead of the statistic itself. All right. I think we've made that clear enough. I hope you understand where I'm coming from with that. Because I think that this is where people think that like manifestation is like magical thinking and stuff like that. It's not negating reality. You are a human that lives in a 3D reality and you come up against it every day. But when you're sitting down and saying, okay, I'm the artist of my life. Let's put my hands in the clay, as Abraham Hicks does often say. That's when you have to be discerning. All right. So another thing to add to your evidence list, especially if you're manifesting things that are really related to the body or health, could be medicines that you're on, right? Your belief in the efficacy of those medicines will make them work stronger for you. So there's a lot of amazing, beautiful, fun research about this. It's in a book called You Are the Placebo by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'll link to it in the show notes. Good read if you're looking to manifest anything health or body related. Really, really cool. Lots of good evidence there. So maybe for your manifestation, medicine doesn't really apply, but maybe there are mentors or maybe there are other resources at your disposal that keep you feeling supported on your journey towards realizing this manifestation. Another thing you could add to your list or could be kind or supportive things that people have said to you. Maybe someone wrote you a really kind letter, or you got like a really great card from somebody, or maybe somebody said something to you in a really great conversation. I feel like we've all had like a really good friend, or maybe our mom, or like a really great manifestation coach. Somebody tell us something that stuck with you. I mean, heck, use something that you learned from this podcast. I hope. Put that on your manifestation list, or I should say your evidence list, right? Somebody said something to you that stuck with you, that kept you going, that thing that you could just cling on to. They offered their hope to you when you had none. And so I want you to use that as evidence. You could also use your good ideas and your plans as evidence. So let's just say you're in the process of manifesting your goal, and maybe you know the action steps that you need to take. And so you're in the process of doing them. And maybe you just haven't finished them yet. It could be a really big project. You're in the thick of it, right? You're in the middle of it. You're doing the things. Well, we don't have to wait until you've taken the actions to add it as evidence. Those good ideas, those plans that you have and that you are going to do, you can add them to your evidence list because they can help support your belief in your manifestation. So it could be like, I know XYZ idea is a good idea, and I'm going to do it, or I am currently doing it. And so you can add it to your evidence list. Another thing you can add to your evidence list is the logistical possibility of your manifestation as evidence. It's so funny. I thought about doing like an entire podcast episode about this. And if you're interested in it, I can, or maybe a reel or something like that. But lately I've been kind of asking my clients sort of a funny question. I've been asking them, is it a limiting belief that's holding you back? Or have you simply just not structured your life to even allow this miracle to be possible for you yet? Like, I think back on some of like my old monetary manifestation goals in my business, and it kind of just makes me laugh. Like, I was like, I want to make X amount of revenue in my business this year. And I did all this thought work and I uncovered all these deep-seated subconscious blocks and all the yummy hypnosis stuff that can block a person. I'm like joking about it, but like these are real things, right? But in this case, and in my case, in this instance, that wasn't it at all. Okay. I just hadn't structured my business yet to allow it to make that much money. And so at the time, I had 0 passive income streams. So if I wanted to make that amount of money, there wasn't any physical way I could sell enough one-on-one hypnotherapy and coaching programs to make that amount at the price that my programs were priced at. My calendar would be full before I could reach it at that current pricing. And so no wonder I was having trouble believing that it was possible to reach this number because I couldn't see a route there. So it wasn't necessarily in that case a limiting belief or a block that I was unaware of that was holding me back. It was purely a logistical thing. But what's funny is those logistical things, right? Those logistical things can make it very hard for your rational mind to believe that it's possible. So it's the logistical thing then turns into a limiting belief because you're yeah, sorry, I am rooted in reality. There isn't a path, this isn't logistically possible for this to manifest in its current iteration, and therefore I'm not believing in it, right? So once I realized this for me personally, I was oops, I fixed the little logistical snag there. And then the manifestation just, rushed right in. I manifested that money with so much ease. Okay. It was it wasn't some big, scary subconscious thing. It was just, I needed to create an avenue for it. So I want you to know that it's not always some big hidden esoteric thing that's keeping you from manifesting. That's one of the reasons why I do coaching and I do hypnosis, because a lot of people might think that it's some big scary subconscious thing, but really it's just a logistical thing. And so therefore we can coach on it and then we can clear it right up. And, hypnotherapy is just a cherry on top. It's not necessarily needed to uncover any sort of blocks. Whereas other people, yes, it is a subconscious block. It is a belief system. Everything else is in place and it's still not happening. That is a subconscious thing. So it's different, what do they call different strokes for different folks? It depends on your situation, right? But sometimes it's just a logistical thing, and it can become very hard to believe in a goal where there is no immediate way to let it in. It's harder to believe that you'll win the lottery when you haven't bought a lotto ticket, right? Versus when you've bought 10 lottery tickets, you're going to have a better chance of believing that you could win, better than not having any ticket at all. So create a way to let it in. And if you already have that way created, use that as evidence for your list. Use that to your favor. Where do the logistical things that you have in place, or where are you currently creating those logistical avenues to allow your manifestation in? And how will that allow your manifestation to happen for you? I want you to write down the systems you have in place. I want you to write down the processes you have in place. All of it can be evidence for why this is happening for you. Here's another thing to add to your evidence list. You're going to have so much evidence by the end of this. I'm so excited for you. Use your skills and your talents as evidence for your list. What are you really good at that will help support this manifestation? What about you, the way you see yourself, the person who you know yourself to be? What about you helps support your knowing that this prayer is certainly on the way for you? What comes easy to you? Add it to the list. Here's another one. What actions are required for this manifestation that you are doing? This kind of overlaps some of the things we've already talked about, but I want you to put those actions on your evidence list. So let's just say, for example, you wanted to manifest $1 million this year. And you know for your business that you need to do, on average, X amount of sales calls to reach that number, or at least that's what you anticipate. And guess what? Yay, you're doing the sales calls. Good job. So add the fact that you're doing sales calls, add that to your evidence list. You are taking the actions that are designed to get you there. So you're doing the thing. And if you aren't taking those actions, alert, maybe that should tell you something and inspire you to get into alignment to figure out what those actions are so that you can do them and you can add them to your evidence list. Now, it's so easy when we talk about manifestation, to kind of leave that action component out of the equation. I see a lot of manifestors, and I don't mean to make like a generalized statement here, so please excuse me, but I would say it's an interesting pattern that I'm seeing. I would say that I mainly see my Gen Z manifesting clients. I don't know if it's just like a younger generation's perception of manifestation. I don't know if it's like the influence of these like sexy manifestation teachers on TikTok that talk about manifestation in this way or not. But I would say that I notice this really unique pattern that my younger clients, who I love dearly, that I feel like I'm working with them more on taking action than I'm working with my older millennial clients or my Gen X clients or my boomer clients or any other clients, right? My Gen Z clients tend to, as kind of an unfair blanket statement, they tend to really want that manifestation to just kind of appear without taking the action. And it's not because they're lazy or anything like that. No, quite the opposite. They're very hardworking. It's just that their idea of what manifestation is tends to miss the part about needing to take action. And so I find that I'm teaching them and kind of reacquainting them with how manifestation works and telling them like, hey, taking action is part of this. Taking aligned, inspired action is part of this. So don't get me wrong. It isn't to say that your manifestation can't just like fall out of the sky and be there for you. Like I've certainly manifested plenty of things that way. I wouldn't bank on it because it's not aligning for you to expect your manifestation to come through one single avenue, which is it will land on my lap with zero action. Unless that is the only way you wanted to experience it, which I think that would tell me that you don't really want that thing all that much. If you're unwilling to do any work for it, and you're like, I only want this if it just comes to me and that's just it, then sure, believe in that, feel good about that, let it go. And, there's not much desire, there's not much momentum behind that thing then if you're not willing to do anything for it. So what I say that's unaligning, and I know some manifestation teachers don't agree with me, but of course I'm speaking from my experience and my 17 years of studying this, but it is putting a whole lot of pressure on that manifestation if you're just limiting it to one avenue for it to manifest its way into your life. So to be in alignment with it is to be open to all the many ways that it could come about, which means being open to the actions that you might be inspired to take with this thing, which essentially means that you'll be taking action. Here's some more evidence to add. Find people who manifested what you want to achieve. But here's the trick. Find people who did it who are much older than you. Yeah. So here's how I stumbled upon this one. And I think it's really great. Two of my favorite podcasters, two of my favorite authors, which as I think about where I'm manifesting the direction of the show and my business, like one of my main manifestations is that this podcast is a #1 podcast. It's chart topping. It's a household name type podcast. Like that's my manifestation with this. And of course that I'm a New York Times bestselling author. That's also part of my manifestation. So two of the people that I look up to the most that fit this description of the kind of career and life I want to lead, they're Brené Brown. I freaking love her. And Mel Robbins. And so, of course, I spent one afternoon researching them. I wanted to learn all about them. I wanted to see what I could learn about their lives and their careers that would help inspire myself to reach that place as well, right? And what just kind of made me giddy with joy was to learn that by reading articles and mostly the most helpful articles were the ones that were written by their alma mater. So their college that they went to. Pro tip. If there's somebody that you really love, try to find where they went to school and see if their school newspaper did like an article about them, because usually that's going to look through the lens of their path of their career, because usually that's what college students are interested in. College students are like, hey, how did they become who they are? And that's the kind of questions are usually asked in those interviews. So it's really enlightening to look at alma mater articles. But I learned about both of them that they really didn't get their start in like the self-development field until their early 40s. So Brené Brown, she went to school a little bit later in life than most. She did qualitative research, which is actually the same sort of research I did before I became a hypnotherapist, which makes me extra love her. And then she wrote a book that she self-published because she couldn't get a publishing deal with a publisher. And then she did her big TEDx talk that put her on the map until she was in her early 40s. Same with Mel Robbins. She had a completely different career. She was loyal. I'm sure she was loyal, but she was more of a lawyer and she was a legal analyst. And then she shifted into radio work, and then she took a more self-development and sort of motivational speaker path. But that really didn't happen until her early 40s when she went that route. So when I hear those stories, considering that I admire those people just anyways, I'd admire them if they were in their young 20s doing this stuff. But to hear that they didn't do it until their early 40s just makes me feel like, wow, I'm like a decade ahead of the game, which is an awesome feeling, right? That's a very aligning feeling. And that is great evidence to add to the list. Anytime you feel aligned, we want to add it to the list. So find people that you admire, and bonus points if they did the thing that you want to do, but they did it later in life than when you were doing it. Because that kind of gets that little pesky, like, oh, I'm too old to do this thing, or I've missed my mark, or I've missed my time. That gets that kind of false belief out of the way for you. It debunks it, right? Another thing to add to the list, we want to add your wins to the evidence list. What are the wins, small or large, that have already happened with this manifestation? So add those to the list. You might be in the middle of the manifestation process. You've maybe had some small or large wins already. So that's a great thing to add to the list. Here's another one, and it's kind of a funny one, an odd one, I would say, but it might apply to you. So is there anything about your manifestation that you don't feel like you know how to do, or you don't know what to do necessarily to reach your manifestation? Well, I got news for you, folks. ChatGPT exists now. So that is no excuse. You don't get that excuse anymore. ChatGPT took it away. So let's say that you want to manifest $2 million this year. Do you like how the number keeps increasing every time I use this example? But let's say that you have no clue how to do that. Well, freaking plug it into ChatGPT, okay? Share with ChatGPT where you are now, what you have, what resources you have at your disposal, and ask it to devise a plan for you. And then if you need more clarity, you can ask it follow-up questions. Like you can ask it infinite amount of questions, and it will keep giving you more and more of a path to follow. So there's literally no reason for you to not know how to reach your goal now. Like that just doesn't, I mean, how amazing of a time period for us to live in when like we have unlimited resources at our disposal to tell us how. Like how we don't have to wonder about. Now, we have to get aligned to the how that it suggests, and maybe some things it suggests may feel aligning, some things it suggests may not. That's kind of a whole other topic, but there's a how available to you, and you can continue to refine it and find what fits you, right? So all the answers are there for you. Here's another one to add to your list. Physical evidence. Very straightforward. Probably should have been the first thing I mentioned rather than one of the last. But let's just say your manifestation is to lose 90 pounds. Maybe you've already lost 10 pounds so far. And maybe your jeans are starting to feel a little loose, right? You notice it in your clothes. You could add, my jeans are feeling looser on your evidence list. And this gives you evidence for why those other 80 remaining pounds can come off of you. Your body already knows how to release that weight. It's evidence. You can see it. It's physical evidence. You can feel it. Oh my gosh, guys. Wow. Are you sufficiently overwhelmed? I hope. I hope in a good way. You should have a lot of evidence by now. Your list should be getting very, very long. So I'd start. Maybe you pause me in the middle of this episode and you made your list as we were going through these. Maybe you just kind of consumed all the information and you'll go back and do it. I'd start by pushing yourself to at least have 10 pieces of evidence per manifestation on your list. But the kind of beauty of this exercise is that the more that you look for evidence for why you can become who you want to be, the more your brain is going to present even more evidence to you. So it's this beautiful, like self-fulfilling prophecy, like we talked about in past episodes. And it just kind of builds this positive momentum for you. So we learned about this in the neuroscientific manifestation series. You're priming your brain to look for more things that match your strength and belief and turning your ideas into reality. So over time, it's just natural that your list is going to get longer and longer and longer. It's so much fun. It's fun to watch it grow. Like some of my lists, they started at 10 things and now they're up to like 25 things on them now, which, they've only been around for a couple weeks. Like it's pretty awesome. Like there's so much more evidence that I continue to add to them, which then in turn just shows how much more strengthened my belief is in that thing. I have all this evidence that shows me how certain it is. It's fabulous. It's wonderful. So I want you to every day, once you've created this list, this isn't a list that you just kind of make and then you just put it away. No, I want you to go back to it every single day. I want you to read through that evidence list and add more things to it. As you think of them, as you're reading through, you'll be inspired to more ideas, but I want you to read through them and I want you to really remind yourself of this evidence every single day because it serves as a reminder. It serves as reinforcement that, yeah, this is meant for you. Yes. You are going to turn this dream into reality. You're turning it into reality right here, right now. Look at all those reasons why it's just so simple. It's so logical. It's so certain that this is happening for you. We want your brain to look for more reasons why it's happening than looking for reasons why it won't happen or can't happen. We got to tip those scales. We got to have the brain looking for more reasons and evidence for yes than no. This exercise helps you do that. Okay. So I don't know. We're getting a little long here, but I think this is actually pretty helpful. So I'm going to just really quickly here, okay, recap all the different types of evidence that you can add when creating your evidence list so that if you go back and do this, you can just scroll to, 50-ish minutes into this podcast and you have all these written down for you, okay? Or listed out for you. You can add to your evidence list signs from the universe, test results, scientific studies, things you saw on social media, stories of other people you know, celebrities, historical figures, influencers, signs or messages from your higher self, or even from past loved ones that you might receive in a hypnotherapy session or in a psychic medium reading, positive actions or changes you've already made or even that you're currently making, past accomplishments, feelings or sensations in your body, a general sense of alignment, knowing that things can be different, statistics, medicines, resources, other resources at your disposal, supportive things that people have said to you, good ideas or plans you have, logistical possibilities, skills and talents, people who manifested that are older than you, your past wins, ChatGPT, physical evidence. Whew, that's 22 different things to think about, people. And you know what's so cool about this is I'm sure there's even more. Like, in fact, I'm asking you this. If you come up with a different type of evidence, will you please email me or DM me or better yet, leave a comment on the podcast and let me know that idea? Like, I'd love to add it to this list because I just think there's like infinite different ways to use as evidence and we'll keep building on that list too. I love making lists. Surely, out of all these 22 ways or even some other ways that might exist beyond that, you can find some evidence for your manifestation. In fact, if you go looking for it, I know you'll find it because that's how our brains work. That's how manifestation works. What you look for, you find. So look for turning your desired outcomes into reality. I'm so excited for you. It's so cool. So be sure to create your evidence lists. I want you to read them daily. Keep adding to them, okay? And if you feel comfortable, share them with me. I'd love to see some other evidence lists. That'd be really cool. I'd love to cheer you on with it. So here, I'll do something to just get you kickstart a little bit, okay? Not that I've already done that. More than well than done that. But I want to help get started. So I'm going to add the first thing to your list for you. Sound good? Ooh, you already have one. How lucky. I am telling you here right now that your manifestation is possible for you. Okay? So add that as number one on your list. Oh, Brittany from Destination Manifestation told me already that this is possible. Boom. You're already on your way. You already got your first one. Congrats. So first piece of evidence acquired. That's great news. Be sure to come back to this episode again and again, okay? Create those lists. And if you find yourself ready to get serious about your intentions and to do literally everything and anything possible to make them your reality, I want to help you, okay? I want to help you add evidence to that list at lightning speed. I want to help you add so much evidence to that list that you don't even need the list anymore, right? Because your manifestation just simply is your reality. It's now the old crusty around you, although it's a pretty good crusty because it's exactly what you want. And so the best way to make that happen is to work with me. And that's through one-on-one hypnotherapy and coaching. We meet for 90 minutes each session. We spend some time coaching on your manifestation. We get you into that solid, aligned plan of action. We work through any kinks that might be in your mindset around it. And I want to help you get pointed in the direction that you need to go towards destination manifestation, right? And then what we do with that is we don't stop there. We take all that knowledge and we bring it on over to the subconscious mind, where we literally reprogram your subconscious mind to help turn your goals into reality. That way, it just becomes automatic to you. It just becomes natural to you. It's as natural and as automatic as breathing. That's also a subconscious process, right? We want to make manifesting just like breathing. It just happens for you. We want to get you to the point where you don't even have to do exercises like this one, right? That we talked about today. You just know. It's just how you think. It's just your belief. It's just your self-concept. It's the way you view the world. And therefore, the 3D physical manifestation of the thing is sure to follow. It's natural law. Hypnotherapy is what I personally use to manifest everything big and beautiful and glorious in my life. Being on Big Brother, marrying my soulmate, building my dream home, running a thriving business as a full-time entrepreneur, manifesting large surprise lump sums of money randomly, free vacations, also, another big manifestation that I'm going to share with you all soon. I'm still waiting. I'm still living through it. I'm still waiting to see how it all unfolds. I want to tell you the full story, so I'm waiting. But it's big. It's big, okay? And hypnotherapy has facilitated all of this. It has worked so well for me that I decided to abandon my very successful career as a market researcher and devote my life to all this, right? And to teach other people and to lead other people through it. I felt called to do that because I was like, oh my goodness, more people need to know how to do this effectively. It's that powerful. So if you want someone to take you by the hand, if you want somebody to join you every step of the way towards your destination manifestation, you don't have to travel alone. Just check out the link in my show notes and we can get started. Until then, I'm going to catch you next time. Create those lists and I'll see you in the next episode.
I don't know